If you are an Etsy shop owner, then this episode is for you. I'm going to be sharing 6 tips to help you add listings on Etsy quicker and more effectively than ever before so that way you can start making sales a whole lot sooner. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hey, I'm Lucy Reyes, your host of the Cheerful Productive Chats podcast, where I'm on a mission to help online entrepreneurs like you focus on all the right things and kiss overwhelm goodbye. Here, you're going to learn strategies that will boost your productivity so that you can scale your online biz and impact lives sooner. It's your time to shine, so let's get started. Hey, welcome back to the Cheerful Productive Chats podcast. Now, I am going to do a full disclaimer here. My daughter is home with me, which I usually don't record podcast episodes when she's home, but I'm kind of running behind on the schedule. And this has been one of those weeks where nothing has really been going as planned. And so we're going to hope that there's no loud sounds that happen outside. We're going to hope that she stays okay. She's been a little sick. We have a doctor's appointment later, so I have one chance to get this recorded for you. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there because I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going no matter what happens. So I'm apologizing in advance. Now, I want you to stick around if you are an Etsy shop owner. If not, then you can feel free to stick around, but just know that I'm specifically directly talking to you if you do have an Etsy shop where you're specifically selling digital products, because the examples I'm going to be using and the tips I'm going to be sharing are very specific for that audience. And I got inspired to record this episode because I recently added some printables onto my own Etsy shop. So my Etsy shop is something that has been kind of like a on and off project for me that I've done here and there. And I haven't uploaded anything to Etsy. I haven't done anything to that shop in probably a year. And it's something that has always been on my to-do list and I wanted to get to it. And so I finally got to a place where I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to dedicate some time every month to work on something related to my mom blog, which is one of those projects that I just absolutely cannot let go. I still run that business. And so the Etsy shop is a part of that business. And so I finally did it. This past week or last week, I was able to get some new listings added on Etsy. And so I was really inspired to record this episode because as I'm going through the process, I'm looking at my own workflows. I'm looking at what I did differently based on what I did before. And even though I haven't posted or done anything, absolutely nothing with Etsy in over a year, I was still able to get them all uploaded efficiently. I got 5 listings done in less than in a morning, probably 2 hours worth. And so I'm going to be sharing those tips here so that way you can do the same. Because the truth is, if you don't have stuff to post on Etsy, like if you have your Etsy store and you have the printables or the small digital products created, but you're not loading them up on there, then you're not making sales, right? Like that is the truth. If you don't post them on Etsy, then you're not going to make the sales because they're just sitting in your Canva folder looking all nice and pretty. And that was the situation with me. And so within 2 days of posting these new listings, I had made 7 sales on a shop that I haven't touched in forever. So I am very happy with that. So I wanted to bring those tips here to you. Now, let's go ahead and dive into the 6 tips to add listings on Etsy quicker. The first one is to plan ahead. So you want to set a date on your weekly planner or your monthly planning calendar to help you work specifically on your listings. So you're going to say, on this date, I'm going to dedicate time to posting my Etsy listings, because I don't know about you, but I love creating. But the fact of having to put it on something like an Etsy shop, those are tedious tasks, like having to do the keyword research and what is the title going to be? What is the listing description going to be? What am I teaching or what am I doing or what is this going to, those are all tedious tasks that are not my favorite personally. And so if you're like that too, those are ones that you tend to procrastinate on and why you keep creating and never adding anything to your Etsy shop. So the first tip is for you to plan ahead and to actually add it into your calendar so that way it's there and you know that on this day, this is what you're going to be working on, okay? And Another thing that I want to mention here is that it is also important for you to know or have a rough estimate of how long it's going to take you to complete those tasks. So whenever you are listing products on Etsy, you know that there's a long list of things that you have to do, right? You have to get the listing graphics ready, you have to create the listing descriptions. All of those take a certain amount of time. And while we want it to take like 2 minutes and be super fast at it, realistically, sometimes that's not how long it takes us. And that's okay. It doesn't matter if it's taking your friend 5 minutes to get something done, whereas it's taking you this 15 minutes instead. That's totally fine. But you need to know how long it's going to take you, so that way you can plan accordingly. Because what we don't want to happen is for you to overschedule, for you to plan ahead, for you to add it to your calendar, and then you don't get it done, and now you're frustrated. You're like, see, I knew I shouldn't have done that. I knew I should have focused on something else instead. Like, no, like be realistic with how long it takes you to complete certain tasks, so that way you avoid overscheduling. Now, episode 13, you can go and check that one out, listen to that one if you haven't yet, where I share 2 question hacks to help you to stop overscheduling, or to keep you from overscheduling. Now, tip number 2 is to create a workflow. Come on, if you listen to this podcast and you know this was coming, you want to create a workflow for your Etsy listings. Now, I personally have an Etsy listing workflow inside of my Shopify store, and it's literally the exact workflow that I use whenever I'm listing my own products on Etsy. So if you are listening to this in real time, like as in the day that it goes live, then the Etsy listing workflow is on sale right now. So head to cheers2productivity.com/Etsy-listings. The link is in the show notes to grab it on sale. Like, I did the whole thing. I was like, oh my gosh, I created my printables, we put them on Etsy and got some sales. I need to help my people do the same. And so I went in and I tweaked the Etsy listing template slightly, the Trello board template. And so now that's available, and I'm celebrating with a sale for you, okay? And now, what a workflow can help you with. So what an Etsy specific workflow can help you with is that it will list out all of the steps involved with getting a listing added to Etsy. It'll help you keep track of all of the steps that you're working on, even if you're creating multiple Etsy listings at once. So maybe you're doing one at a time. Maybe you just have one printable that you need to upload, and that's totally fine. But if you're like me, you might have multiple. And if you're like, you might have like a backlog. You're like, I have so many printables or so many small digital products that I have created, and all I need to do is add them to Etsy. But that's the part where you get stuck. Now, having a workflow will help you do all of them all at once, and you can choose to do one at a time, or you can choose to do them in batches, 5 at a time, and we'll get to one of those steps actually. But it helps you keep track of all of your steps regardless on how many you're working on at a time. And then it also gives you an easy and accessible way to have everything you need to list your products on Etsy a lot faster. Like, you'll have everything at your fingertips. So if you want the exact workflow that I use, then head to the link in the show notes to grab the Etsy listing workflow. And again, if you're listening to this in real time, then it is on sale. So it's one of the best times to grab it, okay? The third tip that I have here is to do your keyword research first. Before you even create the printable or the digital product, you should do some keyword research to make sure that it's something that will actually sell on Etsy. Are people actually searching for the thing that you're wanting to create to sell? If not, then no one is going to search to find it, right? So you can use tools like eRank. eRank is a very specific tool, keyword research tool, not just keyword research, but it's a very specific tool for Etsy. I used that for a long time. Or you can use KeySearch, which is my favorite keyword research tool. I have a code where you can get 20% off of it if you'd like. Just send me a DM on Instagram saying KeySearch, and I will send you that code so you can get a discount. But do your keyword research first, okay? Because what we don't want to do is for you to create, and then you go to list on Etsy and you realize, oh crap, no one is actually searching for this thing. And now you've wasted time, maybe not wasted time, but you've spent a lot of time creating this thing that doesn't have that much demand on Etsy. Sure, you could do other things with that thing, but again, the purpose of this episode specifically is creating something specifically for Etsy. Then you go to try to sell it and no one is looking for it. which means people are not really going to buy it because they can't find it. So do your keyword research first. And if you want more help on how to know which printables or which small digital products to sell on Etsy, then there's a super amazing free seasonal product guide that I'm going to link to in the show notes. So definitely check that out and grab that, because that is going to give you like a cheat sheet of all of the popular products that no matter how much competition there is out there, then you'll be able to create something in your own unique way and put it up for sale quickly, okay? Now, the fourth tip is to use templates. Template size everything. I don't know if that's a word, but we're making it a word. Template size everything and anything you possibly can, okay? So when you're going through your Etsy listing workflow, like I want you to think which one of these is repetitive, something that I can duplicate, something that I can copy and paste, and make a template out of it for yourself. I'm not talking about templates for you to create and sell anywhere else. Like, no, I'm talking about a template for you to use for yourself. Kind of how my Etsy listing workflow came about. I created it for myself. Now I sell it, but that's not why I created a template for it. I created a template for it because it was helping me with my process. And you want to do the same with anything that you're doing. So as you're going through the process of getting your listings on Etsy added, then see what can be template sized. Okay, so some of these things include your product listing graphics. If you're selling the same style of product in multiple versions, then you want to have templates for those listing graphics. For example, if you're selling planners, then you're probably going to have a standard set of 5 or more graphics that show the different pages, the different planner pages, etc., right? Maybe you have a spreadsheet, then you'll have another template set where you can easily just crop in a picture of the spreadsheet. You want to have a product listing graphic template for all of the different types of products that you have. And also something that you may not have considered is to have like a description, a listing description template or outline. So usually when you're posting your stuff on Etsy, there's certain sections that you'll want to have, and there's certain sections that will be repeated for every single listing. Well, just create yourself a template that you can make a copy and then just add in the relevant information for that printable. And if you're like me where you're throwing in keywords everywhere, then you can do some highlights in that template where you're saying, okay, this is where I'm going to put the product name. I'm also going to put it down here. I'm also going to put it down here. And up here, this is what I'm going to include for this specific product that I'm trying to sell. So that's another thing that you can template size. And even repetitive designs for your small digital products. So going back to the example, if you are creating multiple different types of planners, well then a standard design that you're probably going to have in many of these planners is like a calendar, right? And so just turn that into a template. You can use Canva, just make a page where it has the calendar, then you can copy and paste that, design it into the specific planner. But basically think about everything. And if you need some ideas, then episode 7 is where I kind of go into so many different ideas of what you can use template for, along with some recommendations. So definitely go check that episode out if you haven't listened to that one yet. Now, the 5th tool here is to use AI. So with the evolvement of AI, it is easier and faster than ever before to write copy. But there's a caveat here, okay? Because you should never rely on just AI alone. Like, it's a great first draft and it's great for helping you spark ideas and inspiration, but it should not be used as is. There are some very common repetitive words that if people read it, they will know, oh, that was done by AI. Like, I've done this mistake and there is some listings that I'm like, oh, I should probably change that one word, right? But you still want to edit it. Whether you're keeping some of those common AI words or not, you still want to edit its output to sound like you, to make sense for you and your audience, because AI is only going based on what you're telling it, versus you have all this other knowledge in your head of what will actually resonate with your audience. So you can use tools like ChatGPT. Now, a pro of ChatGPT is that it's free. That is a huge pro. So if you're not using this at minimum, then definitely go check it out. But there is a con to this, which is the fact that you will need to train ChatGPT every single time to sound like you, and the output it gives you is only as good as the prompt that you give it, which means if you're not giving it some good prompts, the output that it's going to give back to you is going to be mediocre, and hopefully that's not what you're copying and pasting onto Etsy, because chances are it might not be quote unquote good enough. And of course it's going to depend on the prompts, and you know your audience, you know your stuff best, but that is like a pro and a con of using ChatGPT. Personally, I like using a tool called Marketing Magic. Now, this is an incredible tool that I use for so many different things in my business. Now, the con is that it is not free. You do have to pay for it. There is a free trial. I will add my link to the show notes that you can use to check it out for yourself and then see if it's something that you want to use. But the pro is huge and definitely outweighs the cons because it is so worth it. The pro is that it has everything built in about you, your brand, your business, your products, like everything that ChatGPT or AI should know about something. It's already built in for you. And even if you put in a simple prompt, it will spit out something in your voice. It will take all of the information that it knows about you to give you a better output, which means that you're doing less editing. The information is more like you, like it sounds more like you, and it requires less prompting because you don't have to give it this whole big explanation of this is how I want it to sound and this is my target audience, and then this whole long paragraph before you actually get to the actual prompt. Like, you don't have to do any of that because you've already done it once and it's saved, it's stored inside of your profile. And so there's less editing when it spits out the information to you. So those are some tools that you can use to help you write Etsy listings faster, but definitely take advantage of AI. It's there for you. It's there to help you. It's there to make things easier and faster for you. Just make sure that you are editing it before you actually upload it to Etsy, okay? Now, the last tip that I have here for you is to batch similar tasks. If you're not sure what batching means, batching pretty much means that you are completing similar tasks in a single setting. You want to prevent as much bouncing around as possible, because when you do that, it makes you lose focus, it makes you lose concentration, and then you're having to refocus, which takes a while. Because when you're programmed to do one thing, then you're doing that. But if you're coming around here and you're coming around here and you're trying to do these different tasks, you're starting to switch different parts of your brain on and off, and your brain is trying to keep up, right? But when you're doing the same task, well, your brain is already using the same muscles, the same everything to get that thing done. So you get into a flow. That's why you get into a flow. Have you ever noticed that whenever you are completing certain things, then you just start to get the flow and it becomes easier and easier and easier until you're done? That's why. So it helps you get through the task faster. So now here's the example. So let's say you are listing 5 printables all at once, right? You have 5 printables ready to go onto your Etsy shop. So don't complete the entire process for one printable at a time. For example, don't do this. Don't create the printable, then do the research, then do the title, then the graphics, then the description, and then start over with number 2. Don't do that, okay? Because every single one of those tasks is a different task. What you want to do instead is have your workflow ready for all 5 printables and do the same thing for each one in the same order. So you're gonna do the keyword research for all 5 printables, the listing graphics for all 5 printables, the listing description for all 5 printables. You're going to publish them all at the same time. You're going to do that process, and that is batching. The fact that you are doing the same task for multiple things, that is batching, and that is going to help you get them done faster. And then you have more chances at selling more on Etsy because you have 5 new printables of maybe the same topic. Like I posted some on Easter, and it's very timely because we're in March and Easter is in a few weeks. So that is the power of batching, and it helps you just get it done faster versus you might have gone through the whole process and just got one printable up before you're like, oh, no, my time's up. I don't know when I'm gonna publish the rest, right? So this is where the workflows really come in handy. And so like I said, if you want to check out the one that I specifically use for Trello, the Etsy listing workflow is on sale right now. So definitely go check out the link in the show notes. Whew. All right, friend, I don't know about you, but I feel like I was talking really fast there because I am watching the clock. I'm trying to make sure I get this out to you on time with all of the wowness that's happening in my life this week. So it really feels like nothing has gone as planned. It really feels like yesterday was a Monday. It like literally was Monday, but it felt like a Monday. And usually it doesn't feel that way for me. And now today's Tuesday, and it feels like a Monday. So it's kind of like, okay, I don't know how the rest of the week is going to go, but I really wanted to get this out there for you. And I hope that you enjoyed it and that you got so much value for it. And I will talk to you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Cheerful Productive Chats podcast with me, Lucy Reyes. To view the complete show notes and all the links mentioned in today's episode, visit cheerstoproductivity.com/63. Before you go, make sure you follow or subscribe wherever you're listening so you know once the next productive chat is released. Talk soon, and cheers to productivity and success.